Dungeons of Hinterberg is a game that imagines if magic came to an Austrian town. You also play as a lawyer, and yes, there's tax evasion.
Woo!
Magic is real. 25 dungeons and 4 magic shrines open in close proximity to each other, and the people who lick these shrines get special powers to clear these dungeons.
Lick it!
Monsters spawn from a gooey substance, but seems to have no consciousness. Their only directive? Harass anyone that gets near them. Almost as if it's a video game. How does modern society react to this phenomenon? They make it a tourist attraction. You too can come and experience clearing dungeons, adventuring fantastic environments, and casting magic spells. The new slaying bubble is born. This is a bubble so big, it comes with its own currency, Hinterbucks. Good luck finding a place that'll exchange that into dollars. Meet Louisa Dorfer, junior lawyer and main protagonist looking to get away from it all. She is ready to burst the biggest bubble since the tulip collapse of 1637 and leave a town's economy in shambles. She also does some adventuring and slaying stuff. That's what the game calls its adventurers, by the way, slayers. But crashing the economy is not Louisa's fault. This town has a dark side. It's government. Well, look at that. Art does imitate life. Strange and dangerous happenings abound, and the mayor refuses to investigate anything. Can you, a tourist, and the motley crew of friends you make along the way, uncover a hidden plot that most probably definitely exists? And can Thea ever get past David's upbringing and see him for who he truly is? This is Dungeons of Hinterberg. There are many iconic games out there with their own iconic game mechanics. Dungeons of Hinterberg blends some of the best together for a pretty memorable gaming experience. Things like the art style from Borderlands, the combat from Kingdom Hearts, the puzzles from The Legend of Zelda, and the relationship trackers from Roller Coaster Tycoon. Some also compare the relationship tracker to Persona, but I like Roller Coaster Tycoon. Gameplay is broken up into 4 times of day: morning, day, evening, and night, with day and evening being the most significant. Morning is usually dedicated to a cutscene where you and your mandatory best friend, Alex, talk for a bit, and then you decide where you'll go slaying for the day. There are 4 areas to choose from: Doberkogel, Hinterwald, Kolmstein, and Brunelschumpf. Each area has its own shrine to lick, dungeons to enter, magic to cast, scenic areas to rest and monologue in, and treasure chests to plunder. The shrines give you access to each area's magic, which can only be used in that same area. Some conditions apply. Magic comes in 2 flavors, main and side. The main magic comes in all sorts of different forms and is pretty versatile. Side magic is mostly a projectile of some sort, but the game devs did a pretty good job of making it look and feel unique. Armed with magic, your sword, and some other game mechanics, you can hop right into dungeon slaying. Dungeons are filled with monsters, puzzles, and of course, more treasure chests to loot. There are a couple of boss fights, but the main features are the puzzles. These things range from trivially easy to very challenging. They seem to have jumped right out of the Legend of Zelda series, as each dungeon has its own quirky mechanic, usually involving the magic system that is native to its area. Monster slaying is its own hallmark in dungeons. Each dungeon has a monster difficulty rating to help you prepare. In a style that closely resembles Kingdom Hearts, you can customize your loadout of weapons, equipment, charms, and attack conduits to help raise your attack and defense rating to tackle the more tricky dungeons. For the achievement hunters out there, each dungeon also has its own hidden commemorative coin to collect. Alternatively, you can spend the day relaxing at a scenic spot. Doing so will pass the day away, usually increase some stats, and give you a little lore drop as the main character, Louisa, reflects on her past. After you exit a dungeon or visit a scenic spot, you return to Hinterberg for the evening. Here, you can do a variety of things, such as shop, spend time with characters, and visit attractions like the theater, boatyard, or spa. The big feature here is the character relationship tracker. In Hinterberg, there are a number of colorful personalities to interact with. From disgruntled locals to popular streamers, there's no shortage of backstories and motivations to learn about. The game does a decent job of twisting these components into the main story, although it would be cool if more characters got an important role in the plot. After you spend some time with an NPC or visit an attraction by yourself, the game sends you back to your hotel room for the night, and the cycle continues as you meet back up with your mandatory best friend the next morning. The truly unique part of this game, in my opinion, are the characters. The premise of magic being turned into a tourist trap sets up some really cool dynamics. People like the professor want to study magic, professional adventurers appear, equipment suppliers follow, the locals are forced to adapt, and veteran tourists that have been vacationing here for years can give you first-hand accounts of how things have changed. We'll cover some of the main cast. Alex, our mandatory best friend, is a fellow tourist slayer whose main characteristic is how she will be your best friend. They tried to make her British and mysterious, but she comes across more desperate for human interaction than anything else. Renaud, who you might know as Kirito from Sword Art Online, is an edgy loner who believes he has been called by a higher power to fight back the forces of evil. Of course, there's the best boy, who we named Walter. He wolfs in everything. Hannah is the town blacksmith. She also has a vendetta against capitalism, and her character growth is phenomenal. To this day, we still don't know if she has ever paid taxes. The town locals, Thea and David, makes me slightly uncomfortable, but I think they're supposed to be relatable. Thea won't be a part of the system, man. And David's family is the system, but for some reason he really wants Thea's approval? I'm not quite sure why you'd want her approval, but it is a plot point. And finally, there's Mayor Wagner, who may or may not be the antagonist of this game. Magic has brought prosperity to her town, and she will hold on to it, even if it takes making a fake currency exclusive for slayers called Hinterbucks. I can't foresee any future problems that might cause. The overarching theme of this game is the pursuit of what gives you fulfillment. The protagonist is a junior lawyer who has always done the smart next thing, but she is missing meaning in her life. Between fighting fantasy monsters and casting magic, she often reflects on her past and how she's happier when she isn't in the office. Most NPCs that you interact with play on the same theme. It's a pretty safe theme to go with, as everyone feels it to some extent, especially when they first start a new career. The game does a good enough job implementing it. There are some points where it's a bit jarring to be reminded that the protagonist is a lawyer out on an adventure, but for the most part, it works surprisingly well. The music gets a passing grade and then some. It won't be an instant classic, but the lo-fi soundtrack suits the game and art style very well. Nothing is out of place. The combat music tracks are the standouts. Being more upbeat and peppy, it's almost as if the music got a shot of adrenaline, but still retained its lo-fi roots. There are some bangers on this track. My personal favorite is the one you're listening to right now, Kolmstein Dungeon Combat. Overall, I'd say this game is worth a play. It doesn't do anything groundbreaking, but the features from other games that inspired it have been blended very well, almost to the point where there's a bit of nostalgia. I do wish there was a bit more variety in the fights, more depth to the relationship meter, and more hidden treasure to loot, but the game was a step in the right direction. It feels like the kind of game that could get a sequel which improves on everything the first game did and becomes a must-play. And that'll do it for the review. If you want to see proof that we played it, we do have a complete playthrough series to check out. We do funny voices and improv for all the characters. We'll see you next time.